Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the award-winning ECMD experience. Can y'all hear me okay? Somebody say something. Yes, no, maybe.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, thank you.
I can hear you.
Appreciate that. I'm going to start off by reading your bio that I have. Then we'll go further. Just a second. Okay, tonight, excuse me, I have a long, tiring day, and so is she. The Laura Carwin story, award-winning advocate, activist, educator, speaker, radio personality, a story of survival. Laura C. Carwin, a mother of three, is an award-winning speaker, educator, and activist. Her tale of survival and heroism is one that will be forever etched in California's history. Escaping from an abusive, polygamous husband, Laura and her three children endured unimaginable abuse, locked away and held captive in a cold, dark garage with no heat, food, and water or plumbing. Laura was repeatedly raped, beaten, and starved alongside her children, stripped of everything but the will to survive, not only for herself, but for her children. Laura would then decide to do the unthinkable. Fearing that she would never make it out of the garage alive, she began to meticulously keep detailed accounts via pieces of the scrap paper she found throughout the garage of the horrific daily abuse that she and her children endured. However, it would not be until an unplanned outside visit to the post office with her capture that her life would forever be changed. On that fateful day, Laura was able to pass a note pleading for help to a post office clerk who was then able to alert the proper authorities. 2 days later, detectives would emerge onto her captor's doorstep where she and her children were finally rescued. Today, Laura is a graduate of Bryan and Stratton College and presently serving as resident service liaison for Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority, CMHA, working in resident services as a domestic violence advocate. Laura assists the CMHA residents by empowering, educating, and advocating residents for justice to end domestic violence and child abuse by providing workshops, materials, guidance, and emotional support. Laura is heavily involved with several organizations such as the Coalition for Better Life, Peace in the Hood, Black on Black Crime, Positive Plus Support Group, and a member of NAN, National Action Network. She is a former member of the National Congress of Black Women, the Greater Cleveland chapter, and volunteered for 9 years at the Domestic Violence and Child Advocate Center of Greater Cleveland. Awarded in 2014, Crane's Women of Note, Women of Color Foundation, the Stephanie Tubb Jones Courage Award, and has appeared on Anderson Cooper Live, Meredith Vieira Show, Anderson Cooper 360, ID Investigative Discovery, House of Horrors, TV One's Justice by Any Means with Malik Yoba, the Los Angeles Times, Multimedia Piece, Dr. Phil, Local News, TV Radio, just to name a few. Laura is CEO and founder of the Laura Carwin Foundation for Battered Women that have served over 350 women since 2016. I'd like to welcome the amazing survivor, Laura Carwin, to our call tonight. How are you doing tonight? You're muted. You have to hit the microphone, bottom right corner.
There you go. Oh, thank you so much for that. That was a long bio, wasn't it?
Hey, but that's the way we do it. We want to dig deep. I was watching a little bit of an interview you did on YouTube before you got on here. But the thing I want to talk about is not what everybody else talk about. I want to talk about what was your life like growing up as a child? You know, you, your parents, and your siblings. What was that like?
Ooh, just really a quiet, typical household, to be honest with you. My dad, he played the blues, so he was always traveling and in and out and, you know, barely home. Um, he would have a lot of groups come over. They have jam sessions. My mother would always come out and cook for them. So mm, a good life. I'll put it like that. Very good life. I learned a lot being around my dad, and his friends and Muddy Waters would come over and play blues with him, and Crazy Marvin. It was just a really wonderful time when I was growing up in a Huff neighborhood, because that's where you knew your neighbors and everybody was pretty much close knit. Not like now, when you don't know your neighbors really at all, and you never know who you're living next to. But it was a different time period back then, and I kind of appreciate it now, because when I tell my kids about that type of life, they don't understand it. You can leave your doors unlocked. Uh, your neighbors look out for you when you're coming home from school. Yeah. So it was wonderful. It really was, Kermit.
Appreciate that. So did you ever try any musical instruments yourself or anything outside
Yeah.
of the usual?
Yeah, but it's funny how nobody picked up the guitar behind him. Nobody. So, but I did play the flute in marching band at East High School. So that was my love. Was music. Was playing the flute. A lot of times when I see celebrity on TV, maybe somebody like Lizzo, and she'll bring out her flute, out of nowhere, and it's like, yes, because I do appreciate that. I love music.
Now, the gentleman that had you captured, this was actually your legal husband.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah,
and so how did y'all meet, and how did the relationship start off in the very beginning before all of the wildness?
oh, I met Muhammad in California. I was coming home from work, and I stopped at a little corner store before I came home, and it was a brother out there in the parking lot. He was talking to a lot of people, and he had a nice little crowd of people around him listening to him. I didn't pay him much mind. I kind of looked at him, but I kept going. But a couple of days later, I stopped again at the store when I got off from work, and he was out there again this time. And I said, let me walk over here and see what they're talking about. And he was a very handsome guy. He was selling, he was Muslim brother from the Nation of Islam, and he was selling bean pies out of the back of his car, and the Final Call newspaper, and he was just trying to get a message and a word to the people. So we exchanged information, and he started coming over, and that's how I met him. And we got married about a year later, and my son Muhammad was born the year after that.
Yeah, did you have all your kids by him?
Yeah, my two, Muhammad and Miriam. Yes, I sure did. My third child, Taslima, was by the abuser.
When did you? How long into the relationship before he started seeming where you were like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right, or this not what I signed up for?
I noticed little things off and on, but you kind of tend to ignore stuff. Um, we as human beings, we have that nature in us that we just kind of, let things go, or we just say maybe a person's having a bad day, and we kind of block it out. But I would say I would give it about a year, because like this whole saying my mother used to say, you never know a person really well until you move in with them. And it's true, because before that, he seemed like a great guy. But then I started noticing he wasn't all that great after all. He was the way he was disciplining his children, and his whole behavior is like it changed. It wasn't the same person I had met. Um, it was very bizarre. It really was. But I tell you, just thinking about that sometimes give me flashbacks.
Did he start with you first or the kids?
The kids. definitely. He started with Muhammad mostly.
Mhm.
He just had this thing with my son. You know, he would bedwet at night, and I think mostly I would say it was due to separation of his dad, being incarcerated, not there anymore in his life. Then moving in with people he doesn't even know at all. So that those type of things can draw emotional strain on somebody, especially children, because their coping mechanism is they don't really know how to cope with certain things, so they let it out in different ways. And his was bedwetting and maybe even nightmares. Sometimes he wouldn't eat, sometimes he would.
Now, at what age was the kid Muhammad that you're speaking of? At what age did he start abusing the child?
I would say when I moved in with them, Muhammad had to be about 3.5, going on 4.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Miriam, she was approximately maybe 9 to 10 months old. Yeah. So Miriam didn't really see too much of the abuse at all until she got maybe about a year later.
Well, I definitely understand, abuse, understand relationships. And I guess when you're in a relationship, you figure like you have your perspective and he
Mm-hmm.
has his perspective. So even when you saw him abusing the kids, did you kind of look at it at first like, well, well, he's just a hard dad and I'm gonna have to get used to him, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then it just went on and on. And then at what point did
Mm-hmm.
you realize that you had to step in, even though he started abusing you or hitting you for stepping
Yeah.
in?
Yeah. Yeah, I stepped in. Like you said, when he was disciplining his own children, I kind of, like you said, just that's his demeanor, that's his culture. He wasn't killing them, but he would. I'll tell you what he would do. He would have them for disciplining. He would have them standing in a corner for hours, or sometimes he would. The main thing he would do was withdraw food, withhold food from them as a punishment if they didn't learn certain chapters in the Quran and or get up on time for prayer. He would go in the rooms with a bucket of water and pour it on them while they were still sleeping in bed. Just little bizarre things like that. But like I said, when he started on Muhammad, it was really physical. And when I intervened, he would beat me as well.
Now, speaking of that, um, when he was doing all this stuff, um, when was the situation where you felt like when did it start that you felt like you could not leave home, where you actually trapped there? When how did that start with the abuse, or shortly time after the abuse started, or when did you
Yeah,
actually like you?
yeah. I would say a little bit after the abuse started, because I remember going to him a couple of times, and I told him, you know, I don't want to stay here anymore. And then he would try to put you down, make you feel bad, or well, uh, you're a Muslim woman, you shouldn't be out there alone. It looks bad. You should stay with us until your husband gets out and get back on your feet. Um, he would just try to make you feel like what you asked for was the wrong thing. You shouldn't try to leave. You should try to stay. And I just knew this wasn't the way for me. So I tried different ways to kind of draw attention to the situation, I would say. A couple of times it did work. I had a one thing I did was we were in the backyard and I threw like this. It was a picture of one of the kids, and I put on the back of the picture "help," and I balled it up and threw it in the neighbor's yard, just hoping somebody would see it. Maybe they would call the police or whatever. And I think it did work because it wasn't the police who came though; it was a social worker, and they came to the house on a report of a complaint. And of course, they wouldn't say where the complaint came from. Um, but the social workers, they just don't do their job like they really want. You need to. They came in, they interviewed all the children, Of course, his children, will tell him, he's a great dad. Oh no, we're doing fine. But they didn't examine the children because if you had to saw the way his kids were dressed, they were layered up in clothing. Sometimes they had two and three garments on because they were so small. I remember when we did get out that situation, we're taken to the hospital. The doctor examined them and said they were suffering from malnutrition, dehydration, and their growth had stunt. Their growth was stunt. They weren't growing. For example, Sharon was 16 years old, but she was only 4'3", I think, at the time, and weighed about maybe 76 pounds. So for a teenager, and all of them were like that pretty much. So yeah, the social workers didn't pick up on that at all. They went in the kitchen. That's the main thing I wanted them to see. When they went in the kitchen, he would have containers lined up in the cabinets, oatmeal boxes and cereal and stuff like that. And I wanted them to look at it and pick it up because if they had, they would have saw it was empty. He just had it up there as a facade. The same thing in a refrigerator. He would have milk cartons in there and different things in there, but it'd be nothing in there. Like he was always prepared and ready because he was used to people coming to the home like that, especially social workers. Like they came there a couple of times before because he would homeschool the children, his children, and um, when you homeschool like that, you got to turn in certain reports and certain documentation, and he would never do that. So they would always come out, and requesting it and come out and visiting him behind that. But they would never notice anything strange, I guess. So they were no help at all.
Okay, you mentioned he was selling pies out of his car, and you say he was talking with people. So was he like a motivational speaker out there?
Now you
Like,
talking about my husband? Um, yeah, well, no, not really. He was just he's a business guy. He was always um, thinking about owning businesses because we did have a little bookstore and a little restaurant across the street from each other. So that's the type of person he was. He wasn't a motivational speaker, but he had that, what's the word we want to use? Uh, Charisma about him, that when he did talk, people would listen. So it was a gift of gab, I used to call it back in the day.
so on the food and water issue or whatever, like, what determined whether you would get food or not, or get water or not? And did he actually have the money to to get the proper stuff? He just didn't want to give it to you guys. Is that what it was?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he had income coming in because he was in the military at one time. So he got a pension coming in from that. And his wife was receiving cash aid for some of the kids and food stamps. So money was coming in, and he would buy things and buy food for himself, but he would lock up food in his room. And what he started doing was when the kids were stealing food because they were hungry, he would put chains around the cabinets and chains around the refrigerator so they couldn't go in it.
Wow. All I can say
Yeah.
is wow.
Yeah.
But,
Did you get a chance to see the movie, the Lifetime movie?
no, I haven't.
Yeah, because they showed that part.
Mhm.
There was chains on the door. Yeah.
But I'm definitely familiar with abuse because I have a lot of female friends, and there's one thing that I would tell them um, is that if you're in an abusive relationship and you get out of it, don't tell the next person. Not that they would be abusive necessarily, but
Mm-hmm.
that they may get mad and say, "Well, now I see why he was beating on you," or whatever, that kind of thing. So that was always a
Yeah.
concern because I have, mostly female friends, and they would tell me different things,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
They
And
would use that against you. Yeah.
yeah, and I had one that, I guess it must be a part of the Muslim faith or something, where she had to walk two steps is right or something like that. Two steps behind to the right or something
Behind
like
him.
that.
Uh-huh.
Things of that nature. So I understand, a little bit of the religion thing. Um, so if the kids didn't learn in the Quran, then they were punished if they didn't learn whatever he wanted them to learn. Was that
Yeah.
part of the homeschooling that he was trying to do?
No, he wasn't even homeschooling. That's the bad part about it, because if you're homeschooling, you would have other books, history books, math books, science books. None of that was bought for them. So he was just really, they were really smart. You could tell because one of his sons would learn that Quran from the beginning all the way to the end. Matter of fact, there's a whole lot of chapters he could recite, you know. Um, so it was, I don't know what they call that when you had that photogenic memory. And he was really good at that. But no, they didn't do regular schoolwork. It was all religious, Quranic verses they were reading and studying and practicing.
So did he eat? Did he eat well? Like, did he cook for himself, and y'all smell the food and all of
Yeah,
this? He was cooking, but then he would give you, he might not
yeah,
eat anything, or
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
he ate well. That's the truth, for real. And his wife would cook food for him. Um, yeah, but he didn't trickle it down to the kids at all. They might have a bowl of rice. That's it. No vegetable, no meat, just a bowl of rice.
Okay.
Things like that. It was sad.
So this happened for 4 years, correct?
About 3.5, and I would say that last 6 months is when he went nuts and locked us up in that garage to keep us from leaving.
Mm-hmm. So when the social worker came by, like I said, they didn't do their job. But had that been the police or police with a social worker, then normally the police would say, "Would you step outside, please," or whatever. And
Right,
then because they want to know what's going on, and plus they want to see his hand or whatever
right,
as well. So
exactly.
when you went to the post office and getting ready to note, obviously that worked. Now,
That worked.
I was watching the interview and you said something about you came outside and they wanted to talk to you, and then you asked them, well, what about talking to him or whatever? So you think that they were not going to talk to him if you didn't ask them to or something, or catch on to why they were there?
I remember when they came that night, really was early in the morning. Maybe, I don't know, I don't have a clock with me, so I'm assuming it was about 4 or 5 because it was still dark outside. And up there where we were living at, because he liked rural areas. He liked that because he didn't, people wouldn't be in his business, or no one could hear when he started beating on the kids. But we were up in, it was a town called Awanga, and it was real rural. They called it Indian reservation back in the day, and houses were really far between. And I'll tell you, just thinking about that and talking about it again, it almost take you back there. It's amazing.
But you did, so you threw something in a neighbor's yard one time, right?
Well, no, we took what he would do. It was a big backyard. Of course, he had a lot of property on the land, and he would have me and my kids take our bucket of urine when we were in that garage. We'd take the urine and feces and go in the backyard, and he would have us to dig a hole and pour it in there. I remember one time I was moving real slow because I didn't want to do it. And he told me, he took the shovel out of my hand and said, "You need to dig faster or I'll dig a hole for you and put you in it." And that's little threats like that he made all the time. So yeah, it was horrible.
Okay, I want to open up the couple of co-hosts. I'm gonna go to Dizzy D, but Queen Karen, are you available? Okay, Dizzy D, go ahead. Dizzy, can you hear me?
I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't know how to respond to be honest, and I feel your pain. I've had family members go through abuse and so forth. But we're glad you're with us and to share your story, because it moves us too, to be aware and to be active and to help others. Because we do have family members. I mean, it happens in our families, maybe not to that extent, but it happens. We're human. It happens and we see it. And this reminds us what we should do to comfort others, to listen to your story and extend that to help our family members and also our neighbors. Because it's a real thing. And we hurt when we hear it, we hurt when we see it, and when we feel you, and we're glad you're here.
Thank you so much. And I'll tell you too, that old saying back in the day, what stays in the house, they didn't want to talk about it back then. But I believe
Mm-mm.
domestic violence and abuse has been in the families for years. There's just a little
Right.
secret kept that just didn't get out. But yeah, what's that old saying? If you see something, say something. That's for
Say,
sure.
say it and respond.
Right.
So
Exactly.
thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Let me just say this though, with the 2025 or recently or whatever, especially with COVID and people have to stay 6 feet away and don't
Oh my
mask
God.
and all of that. So
Yeah.
if someone actually saw him, even at a corner store or some a parking lot, slapped you, you know, um, a knowing person may think, a person that's kind of nosy might say, well, let me write the license plate number down and tell the police I saw this man slapping this woman or whatever. But other than that, they'd be like, okay, well, that's him and his woman. That's their
Yeah.
business.
They don't get involved. You're right. Absolutely. A lot of times you hear things going outside in the street and you look out the window, people just pull their blinds down. They don't get involved. They don't want to. They don't want retaliation. They don't want to get mixed up in the mix. So, yeah, they really don't.
Just like I was trying to be nice to a lady earlier today, and I was telling her it was two handicap spaces, and you have like the cross yellow lines in between. She
Yeah.
parked there. So I just said, I said, ma'am, you can get your car towed there, because she was going inside of a building and somebody could
Oh,
easily come by. And she
okay.
said, yeah, I know. Uh, I'm like,
Wow.
she said, are you going to call the police on me? I said, no, ma'am, I'm just trying to be nice. I
Wow.
said, I'm just trying to, keep you from getting your car towed. I know a lot of people that got their car towed,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but so with attitudes, what I'm saying is that attitudes like that, if she would have seen you getting abused, she definitely would be like, you know, but,
More turn
but
her head and kept
long as
walking.
she'd be like, long as it's not me.
Yep. It ain't me, so that ain't my business.
Because
And
her
let
thing
people
was,
say that.
if I didn't call the police on her, she don't care if she had the door blocked where nobody couldn't get in with their wheelchair or nothing. Didn't even care.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I'm bringing this up from the standpoint of how much accountability can we expect from people.
Mm-hmm.
How can we,
Yeah.
should we expect people to help? What type of people would help? Has the world changed?
Mm.
What's going on now as opposed to what was going on, say maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago?
Years ago. Oh my gosh. You
So
ain't
that's
shit.
the question I was basically asking everybody. Did anybody else have any questions they want to ask? John, did you?
I'm gonna tell you one thing too, Kermit.
Okay.
20, 30, 40 years ago, when I was growing up in my neighborhood, you had the Black Nationals, you had the Panthers. You wouldn't call the police really for nothing. What you gonna call the police for? You just call the brothers down the street and they come handle it. But it ain't like that now at all. But that's when we had the village. It takes a village. That's when we had the village. Well, the village ain't there anymore.
And I have one more thought, Kermit.
Go
It
ahead.
it really hurts when it's cloaked under the when it's under the cloak of religion.
Mm. Oh
It,
boy.
it
Yeah.
really, because
Yeah.
we all envision God as a loving God and will be there for us. But when religion is used in this way,
Hmm.
it, it really hurts and it confuses the person to the future and even their vision of what God would be like and will God allow this and so forth. So it goes further than just, it goes into the spirit of a person
Yeah.
when it's under the guise of religion, when abuse happens that way. So
Hmm.
it's
Mm-mm.
a good thing that you're here, that we hear this, because you have to be aware of it happens there too.
Oh yeah, yeah, because it was almost like living in a cult, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because you only hear that one person talking. There, he isolates you from people. You know, no one was allowed to come over. There was no company. You couldn't go to work. You couldn't go to school. You basically was just there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. That's a form of mental health, big time. And people hide behind religion and manipulate it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's exactly what he did. Exactly. Yeah. And I believed in my heart too. He was the type of person because he had a lot of weapons in the house. If he ever got in a situation of a standoff or anything like that, he would have killed everybody in the house and then turned a gun on himself. That's the type of person he was. Yeah. So you wasn't leaving out of there alive. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, John. This is John Wilson. He's in California. He's the one that introduced me to Joe Jackson
Okay.
from the
Okay.
Jackson family that I was able to work with from 2003 to 2017, thanks to John. Go ahead, John.
Well, Laura, first, there's a lot of emotions and feelings running through me. First of all, I was born and raised in Cleveland.
Ah.
I was
Okay.
born on 46 in Star School, 87 in Quincy.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I went to Bolton and then moved out
Oh.
off Lee Road and went to graduated from Kennedy. That's the first thing. The
Oh.
second thing is that uh, I came out here in '80 and I'm here in Los Angeles. So when you were going through all this, I was here and basically near you. I heard you say when I came on the call about Huff, you know,
Yeah.
and then when this was going to you, and I mean, when this was happening, I was right in and out of Riverside so many times.
Wow.
Okay. And so, being near you in Cleveland, and then you come out there and this type of thing happens,
Yeah. Yeah.
and knowing that I was right near you,
Oh my gosh.
second, third of
Oh.
all, when you say about the religion, I have family members that are in there, and that I'm
Yeah.
quite sure if, that if they had known that
Yeah.
some kind of help I could have probably demonstrated or brought to some kind of help to bear.
Yeah.
Because also we had from Cleveland, uh, there were city council members.
Oh, okay.
There was all kind of help that was there for us. So like I'm saying, I'm listening to you this story that,
Oh,
again, even though we've never met each other, I'm hearing this story for the first time
yeah.
and we were right, literally
Right there.
closer that I could have possibly tried to get you some help. So I want to say that, but God always prevails, and God has
Yeah.
brought you through this,
Yeah.
and you're here for a lot of more reasons. You have a lot more to do here, and this movie will now that I see, which I'm going to watch tonight.
Oh.
Yeah, and say, God bless and keep you safe always, and because you got a lot more to do on this earth.
Yes, sir. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. You're right. That's man. When you said Riverside, I remember my husband had they call it I won't say guard duty, but a detail with uh Khalid Muhammad. Khalid used to be, Farrakhan's I won't call him Mr. Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan's right hand man, before they had a little spat, But he spoke up there at Riverside, one of the colleges up there, and I think someone shot him. And my husband was standing behind him at the time, and then I got a picture of that. It was on the front page paper too, and they shot him in the foot.
I
And
remember that.
yeah, yeah. So as soon as you said that, it's like it brought me back to memories. It's
Well,
like,
the
oh
thing
my God.
is really we say that because one of the people that I know very well is in security of the
Ah,
FOI and probably
okay.
was there and knew this is what I'm saying. This is really hitting deep because and to this day, this person is still one of the security there. So
Wow.
probably, I mean, literally, probably I was one or two phone calls
Yeah.
from there, and I was always in Rialto and
Oh, Rialto.
in
Yeah.
Montana. I mean, all because friends all the way there. So, it's just really hitting.
Oh my
that,
God.
I possibly could have given you some help
I
or
know. I
right.
wish I'd have known you. I
Right.
do.
Well, you know me now,
Yes,
right. You know me now, and
yes,
always
sir.
consider me a friend, always.
Yes, sir.
From one
Thank you.
Clevelander to another.
Yes, sir. Native. Oh my gosh.
Before I go to Queen Karen, I wanted to ask you a question. In the 3.5 years, was there a point where you felt like I'm gonna be here for the rest of my life till I die, and that I would never get rescued? Did you ever feel like that?
Yep, I sure did, especially that last year. And especially when he put us in that garage. I just thought this was it. We'll never get out. I'll never see my family again. This was it for us. I had told my son, when I was in there, that one of us is gonna die in here. I know it. And that's when I started uh, writing those letters like a diary. I looked in one of those boxes and they had an old legal pad, and an ink pen, and I was just write everything that happened to us, everything I could think of. But used to take the letter and roll it up and hide it in my underwear so he would never find it. But I did tell my son where it was. I said, one day, if I don't make it out of here, you let authorities or somebody know about this letter. Because
What?
we were really looking bad in that garage, Kermit, because our skin had turned a different color. We weren't brown. It was like a ashy gray from the lack of sunlight. Uh, my son's stomach had started to extend. Looked like he was, pregnant. But that was the malnutrition and dehydration. It was really bad.
Yeah, my next question was, what would he do if somebody had to go to the hospital, was really sick? He wouldn't care.
He didn't go to the hospital. He would never take you. Let me tell you, when one of the kids had some dental issues, he pulled the tooth out with the pliers. He would not take you to the hospital for anything. So he'll whip up some herbs or whatever he had to do, but he wouldn't do it because he knew you once you go to the hospital like that, and they saw them kids in their body. Oh, he already knew he'd have been in trouble. Even with me when he raped me at the end, and that's how I had Taslima. And when I was in the hospital with her, because at first he was gonna have Taslima born there at the house, and he said his wife would be a midwife. And I'm like, oh no. And I started bleeding. That's the only reason that I was taken to the hospital by him. But I thought at that moment when I was going to the hospital, I said, oh man, this is great because I could talk to somebody, talk to a social worker, talk to a nurse, tell them what's going on. But I didn't get that chance at all because he stayed right there in that room the entire time. He even slept overnight there. And we were only there for like 2 days. Back then they would keep you in the hospital for a little while. Maybe now they release you earlier, but back then you could stay a good 5 days or a week maybe after having a baby. But he cut it short, so I didn't have a chance to even talk to anybody alone at all.
Okay. Go ahead, Queen Karen.
Hey,
Queen Karen
Laura,
from
I'm
Washington,
I'm so glad
D.C.
that you made it out and
Thank
that
you,
you
sis.
you
Thank
know
you.
you look good for what you've been
Oh,
through.
I know. What's that old saying too?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good old saying. You don't know what you've been through. I don't look like what I've been through.
right.
Absolutely.
I know going through such a trauma, an ongoing thing that you didn't know how it was going to end. Hopefully, it wouldn't end in your death or your children's death. But
Ooh,
at what point, when you got like out into the world, I want to say on your own, did
yeah.
you decide that you wanted to tell this story? Because so much
Ooh,
trauma and
ooh,
revealing so much. At what point in your life, the better part of your life, then
yeah,
did you
yeah.
decide that you want to go back and dig into that wound?
Sis, I tell you. when we got out of there, we were like a basket case. Uh, we went through 8 years of therapy. 8 years. So it took a long time. I wasn't talking to nobody about nothing. Uh, it was rough, especially for the children. And I
Mhm.
definitely wanted them, my son too, to get therapy because what's that old saying though? It's true. Abused people hurt people.
Right.
And I didn't want to have them to go through that. But we did all the therapy, and the kids came out fine too behind it. Um, oh boy, boy! I tell you, it took a while. I
So
say
how
about
old are they now? How old are they now?
now Muhammad is 31. He'll be 32 this May.
Hmm.
Miriam is 29, and she'll be 30. And Taslima is 27, going on 28. Yeah,
They're still
yeah.
babies.
You
They're
still
still babies.
living
Leading the
with,
life that they did. They're
yeah,
babies. They're still babies and
it's
delicate.
still babies and staying at home with me still.
That's kind of good though. That's kind
Yeah,
of good in a way because you can
yeah,
watch them and feel good about it and they can feel secure because they know you're the only one that tried to keep them safe.
yeah. You're right. I believe that too. I do. I don't think I can get rid of
Uh-oh.
them.
And telling your story and it becoming a movie.
Yeah.
You
Oh boy.
know, who grabbed you for this movie? I mean, what
Mm-hmm.
company, what entity,
Hmm.
what grabbed you about the person that you
Yeah.
decided to work with and let this be a movie?
Right. Right. Well, it had shown on different platforms that Kermit mentioned earlier. It was on ID twice. ID one day episodes House of Horrors, and it was on another ID episode. No one can hear you scream. So TV One. It's been on a lot of platforms, but a movie, I never thought that would. I didn't see that coming. One day I was on my phone and I scrolled through my messenger, and it was a message from his name was Sean Dyer. He was a producer for Poke Prod Productions. And he wrote this long, I had to read it. First, I thought it was a scam. I said, oh, here we go. And I saw it. I started to research his name in Google, and went on LinkedIn and everything I could to find information on him before I responded to him. And he was telling me in the messenger that he heard my story on a podcast late at night,
Mhm.
and he liked to listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. And I was on Channel 19. They have a podcast called something in the dark, something like that. And we were really talking about Aliza Sherman, and she's a nurse here in Cleveland that was at Cleveland Clinic when she was stabbed. They don't know who stabbed her. They trying to say her husband did, but it was never confirmed. Then we were talking about her case because I kind of was close to the family. And all of a sudden, the girl who interviewed me, she says, "Well, I heard you got a story too. Tell us about your story." And that's how that started. And I started telling her about the story like I'm telling you guys. And I guess Sean heard it that night. So he tried to look me up and he didn't see where it was. He didn't see the website or anything. He was just, he found me on Facebook. That's when he contacted me in Messenger. So after a couple of days of researching him, I did finally call him back and talk to him in person. And we did a Zoom together. And his company was legit. And he worked in the beginning. He worked a lot with Norman Lear. If you remember Norman Lear, he did a lot of those sitcoms like All in the Family, Good Times. He wrote all those scripts. So I said, okay, let's do this. And so that's how that began. He took the story, he pitched it to Lifetime, and Lifetime jumped on it. They were like, yes, and the rest is history.
Now, Laura, in them doing the movie and everything, did you have any? say so about things,
Oh
things
yeah.
that to make sure that it was accurate
Oh
if they were
right.
going to put fiction in or different things like that, how it was. What was the
Definitely.
biggest part you wanted to make sure that people knew about you and your story in that movie?
Well, they made me because when the movie first come on, you'll see in the beginning they made me co-producer of the movie. So I was able to read the script, go over it, edit it, send it back, talk to the writers. When they did the casting part, we were able to pick out, who I thought would be a good part for me, or so it was very good. Um, Now the thing is, I would say movies are different because they had that what's the right word for it? They embellish a lot, In other words, they kind of made for TV kind of things. So some things they took and they may have exaggerated a little more than it should have been, but that's how they do it with movies. So it was no way around that one, but but it was pretty accurate. I had to make sure it was told and it was pretty accurate.
I got one more question, Kermit. I don't see nobody's hand up, but I want to ask
Ah,
you. I want to ask you about your organization that you have because domestic violence is running wild.
oh,
And a lot of times I see young women that
yeah,
accept it as life.
yeah, yeah,
Because they feel that they can't do any better, or they're stuck, and their situation may not be. I mean, their situation isn't a drop in the bucket
yeah,
of
yeah.
yours and a lot of other ones, that I've heard of,
Mhm.
and so starting an organization is a very important thing.
It is too. I believe that too. It's just another outlet to reach people and to help because I have a weekly radio show too
Mhm.
on WOVU 95.9 FM, and it comes on every Wednesday at 11. And I talk about domestic violence 101, the warning signs, the red flags, the whole thing, how to obtain a restraining order, different types of restraining orders. A couple of times I have some guests on the show. I had a couple of judges on the show to talk about different things. Trying to think who. I remember Tanya. I had Tanya Brown on my show one time. She's the youngest sister of Nicole Brown, the late Nicole Brown Simpson. And she went through a lot too with OJ. So she was talking about that. I had Mildred Muhammad on my show.
Mhm.
Mildred is the ex-wife of the DC sniper. Oh, I don't know how many years ago it was, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Mhm.
Lee Malvo was shooting people in DC, and nobody knew, who the shooter was, and he had recruited his son to help him. So you can Google that one, and he was hiding in the trunk of his car, and he had a rifle poked in between the hole he put in the trunk, and he would just go around shooting people just randomly.
And he had everybody terrified
Oh
in
yeah,
Washington, Maryland,
you
and
remember
Virginia.
that?
If a van, they thought it
Oh
was a
yeah,
white van.
yep,
And so if a white van pulled up at the light, people would just take the light, not to even be next to him.
yep, scared to death.
It was terrible. And that was like,
You
I think
remember
in
that? Yeah.
2000 something, I was living through it and I had to go through Virginia to get to work. And oh my God, I mean,
Oh my
he
gosh.
was at one of those Home Depots or something like that. He was there.
Yep. Yep.
Man, it's like you want to just get through that day to get back home to safety. Yeah,
Let
that
me
should have been
tell
a
you.
good interview with her.
Yeah, it was because she
Yeah.
talked all about the abuse she went through with him. So I tell you, oh my goodness. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So the radio show, I worked during the day for 17 years. I'm still there at CMHA. That's Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority. So I'm their domestic violence advocate for the authority. And yeah, I get a lot of referrals, especially Kermit was talking about earlier during COVID, because COVID was the worst,
Oh, wow.
the
Mm.
worst, because now you have this. woman, the victim, and then she's pretty much in with her abuser 24/7 now. Everything's closed.
Right.
Everything's shut down. Kids are at home. She has no outlet at all. She got to walk on eggshells, keep them together, keep so he doesn't get, go off on her. It was. I had so many calls, so many, just during COVID time. But yeah, that's what I do during the day, and then I work with a lot of grassroots organizations on the weekends, like Peace in the Hood with Khalid Samad, and Black on Black Crime with Art McCoy. Ooh, and we've done so many vigils for women who did not make it out,
Right.
did not make it out this situation, and men too. Because believe it or not, it's a lot of men that go through domestic violence, but they just don't talk about it. They
Right.
don't. Yeah. And I don't know, do they feel ashamed or they don't think nobody would believe them. But there's a few sisters out here can go off now.
There's a call here in DC for domestic violence wears many hats.
Oh,
And,
okay.
with Queen Alfie. And she has a call on Thursday that the men call in.
Uh-huh.
And the women can be on the phone, but they're silent. And those stories from the men are just horrific, because a lot of the men won't hit the women back.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if they hit them back, they get the worst end of the stick because nobody believes that the women actually can do that.
Absolutely. And that's something that's true. I've heard that lots of times. Nobody believe them. Big old macho guy, but yeah, they go through it. They go through the sulky part. They go through maybe so much, a lot of physical, but they go through other things, verbal abuse. So yeah,
That's my
I sure do.
Thank you so much for allowing me to ask the questions, Kermit, and to be a part of this. And Laura, I hope to get in touch with you to do some more things with you.
Oh, that would be
You know,
wonderful.
I'm going
Wow.
silent now. Thank you so much, Kermit. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, Lord Queen Ken and I have done several conferences about domestic violence, but also about human trafficking and sex
Ooh,
trafficking, and
ooh,
telling people things like I'm gonna just give you a quick one. So I was talking to this model one day, and then we were talking about, like if you have iPhones or different phones, you can, before you go to somewhere, like first of all, to go to somebody's house is really, you have to really think about that versus a public place, but you can get in trouble in a public place too. But
yeah,
what I was
yeah,
telling them is that you can have it where you're talking to a family member and they're tracking, especially in 2025, where they're tracking your location,
yep,
either
yep,
through the iPhone tracking or through another device
yep.
to
Those
track
little
your location. You can say,
devices.
okay, I'm going to go in here to see this man. I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
call you in about 30 minutes. If I don't call you within an hour, something wrong
That's
or
right.
whatever. So that and the reason why I mentioned this about the model, because I asked her, I said, because she said, well, I take my friend girl with me when I go. I said,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
she said she had some weapon in her purse. I forgot what she said she had, maybe mace or something. I don't remember, but she had
Mhm.
some weapon in her purse, and I think she said her girlfriend had like a gun or something, so she would carry a gun.
Wow. Wow.
So my question to her was, I said, okay, when you're taking the pictures in front of the background, where's your purse? She said,
Oh,
oh, on the ground to the left. I said, yeah, so it's not in your hand, right? I said, and then it's you and your girlfriend. Okay, you got the photographer is dealing with you. So what
yeah.
happens now if somebody walk up behind your girlfriend, behind her head, and put a gun in her head? So I'm just trying to make them more aware. Everybody
Right.
thinks just because they got a gun or weapon or mace that they're safe. And I just wanted to let them know, no, you're not safe
Oh,
with that. Communicate with people. Hey, I'm going in this building or whatever. I do it all the time. Even me being a man, hey, I'm getting ready to go into this meeting or
yeah.
whatever. So if I don't
Yeah.
come out, this is who I'm meeting with.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let somebody know.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Okay.
that's how I do my kids. I tell them I'm not trying to not be nosy in your business, but I like to know who is that person you're with. Where y'all going, how long you gonna be, things like that. You want to know. You do.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Uh, Laura was wanted to say you touched on a problem that is hardly not talked about, which is
Mm.
men who are in domestic violence. And
Yeah.
I do have a friend that has been through that.
Okay.
And when the authorities finally came to his house, he said they told him that he was one of 8% of the calls of men who have been through that,
Wow.
where he would not want to strike her back. She broke his arm with a skillet, threw hot grease on him, and everything.
Wow.
He refused.
Yeah.
So, again, that pendulum swings both ways.
Yep.
And I try to get him help and everything else. But sometimes, it's the old saying, you a goat, what is it? A goat that's been tied up all his life doesn't know that the gate is open, or the rope is cut. It doesn't know it's free.
Right. Right. I
So
heard that one.
right. So the person has to make the decision to walk out of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
to walk out of that situation. But some just can't, no matter how much you try to lead it to them, they just can't.
Yeah. I believe that too. They invested in that relationship sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard. A lot of people ask too, and I used to hate when they ask that question. Well, if it's so bad, why don't you just leave?
Right. Hey, well, also too in the neighborhood that you and I grew up in, that was basically, we saw that on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah,
When I started, I remember going to school when I was going to Bolton. I was living on 87th and Quincy,
yeah, yeah,
and you basically walk past that going on and walk home, seeing it going on, seeing it going up and down in Quincy, and you didn't realize what kind of trap you were in, you know.
yeah,
So again, I'm glad that God kept you safe and your children safe, and
yeah, yeah.
you know, I definitely will always continually pray for you.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, yeah, you touched on that. That's true. Men do go through a lot, and it's just this. You can't get the stats like they do on women because, like I said, they just don't report. They really don't. And they lose out by not reporting because a lot of programs are done based on numbers, And that's how they get their funding. And women report all the time, but you just don't get a lot of groups and things like that for men because they just don't get the funding because they don't get the numbers like they should. 'Cause they really should be having a lot of stuff out there for men. They really don't. They really don't. That's sad though. And now with Washington and all this red tapes and politics, it's hard to even form anything, to get something going. But yeah, yeah, I've talked to a lot of brothers because at CMHA where I worked at, what they did once a year, they had a event called Brother to Brother. And when they first started a few years back, I go, oh man, ain't nobody gonna come in here. It's just, you'll get a couple of seats filled. Ain't nobody coming. And I would put, literature and resources on each chair. All the chairs sit there empty. And then all of a sudden, them men started coming in. You hear me? And the next thing I looked up, they were getting chairs out the other room to bring in. I mean, they wanted to talk. They just wanted an outlet, somewhere to go that they could talk and vent and talk amongst each other because they had no other resource, no other contacts. They just wanted to talk, and they sure did. So you're right. It's out there. It really is, young and old. They were both talking.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
I see Queen Karen hand back up again. And if anybody else have anything they want to say, please raise your hand so I can call on you before we get out of here tonight. Go ahead, Queen Karen.
I know that, you've done a lot and you're doing a lot, but there must be something that's not getting answered or not, specifically that's not getting answered. Like, you may have a call to action.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're in Cleveland, but what you're talking about is a universal problem,
Yes.
that
Everywhere.
affects the people the victims, it
Yeah.
affects their families,
Yeah.
people that aren't even there that know just through hearsay or something strange is going on, but they can't
They
they can't
can't.
put their finger on it. Because if you haven't been a victim of domestic violence and they see you, you may just have lost weight. So, okay. Or you may have on something that doesn't look as nice and clean as you usually do, but
Yeah.
okay,
Okay. Right.
but they know it's something, but they don't know what it
But
is
it
to be
is.
able to help you. And you have to be really careful when you reach out to somebody. Like you reached out to that woman in the post office.
Yeah.
It was only Allah that
Yes.
instilled that in you to
Oh,
be able
when
to get away with it.
and
You
I
know,
can't queen because she could have blew me,
right,
blew my
right.
whole cover, everything by
Yeah,
saying, "What you doing?"
because people looking at black women thinking we're extra strong,
Yeah.
extra
Oh boy.
resilient, and we could
Right.
take care of all these things. And then if you got your garb on, you get what you deserve.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Um,
something that is
so
so
because
sad.
years ago, when a woman got her ex, it wasn't respected.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it, it was respected a little by the
Uh,
other. It was respected by the other women, but not so respected by the guys. And it's just something that you did and you had to do, or maybe
yeah.
you didn't, but you did it.
Right.
But that
Oh,
always is your mark. That is your mark and your foundation.
that is
For
so
me to
true.
tell somebody now, I got my ex, they laugh because they don't even understand
Yeah.
what you go through. And that was like, man, that was 50 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So, I know that you might have just something that, we all could work on
Yep.
because I always look for a call to action.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what I can say honestly, even going through therapy, what I can work on is really trust because after that situation, I never had another relationship, so I was done. I'm still single today. It's just I don't know that I guess that'll never change. I just don't know.
I have a question for you and Queen Karen.
Uh-oh.
Because I figure you guys a little bit older. You remember Patty Hearst situation with the?
Oh,
Okay, let
heck
me ask you this.
yeah,
Okay, now she allegedly was, held against her will and all of that stuff.
yeah,
What are either one of your thoughts on the fact of her being held against her will, and then them pulling her out, and now she, because she was the famous newspaper guy's daughter and all of that, that she was
yeah,
not guilty of anything that she did because she was under that. So saying that to say, like, while you were being held, if he told you to rob a store, do you think that you would be, not guilty for robbing the store if he made you do it, in conjunction with the whole Patty Hearst thing? Looking at both
yeah.
sides of that.
Well, today I would say I don't know with the laws today, but back then I know they were more lenient. She suffered, and what was she? They call it Stockholm syndrome. That's what they called it when you pretty much go with your captor. You do things to try to please him, so you don't get in trouble, and that's what she pretty much did. Uh, yeah, the court systems are so funny. I can't even tell you the day if they would let you go and get by with that, or if you committed a crime under that situation. I that's a good question. I don't know what they would have done. You know.
What do you think about that, Queen Karen?
I think black and white. That's what I think. That's what I think.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that's about right.
That's a good way to put it.
That's a good way to put it. Very good way. Yeah,
Okay, I
we
don't
have.
see any other hands raised, and I know you're probably tired here. You're on the East Coast with,
Yeah. Where
you know.
where are you guys from? Where everybody's from?
Oh yeah, let me just tell you, of the ones that's left in here. Okay, you got Queen Karen from Washington D.C.
Washington. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm from the greater Cleveland. John is originally from Cleveland. He's out in L.A. now.
Uh-huh.
Montana Smith is from Charlotte. Um, Lariz is actually from. He's actually in Nigeria right now.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and
Wow.
he's he's out of Chicago. Artist BBY is out of North Carolina, Atlanta, and LA area.
Okay.
Funky
Okay.
Skunk is from Indianapolis, Indiana. He's also a platinum artist. DJ Punch is from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Wow.
Will Gamble, I believe, is from Indianapolis area. Then we have Janique was actually from Australia.
Ooh.
And Sincere Ray is from Indianapolis. DJ Head Rusher from Indianapolis. Brent Barlow, I believe, yes, from Los Angeles, friend of John. And then
Uh-huh.
last but not least is the multi-platinum Grammy Award winner singer-songwriter Michael J. Calhoun.
And we know where he's at.
Yeah. He's at a live show right now. Send me some photos from there. Um, but yeah, so we definitely appreciate you getting on here, and maybe we could do a part two at some other time
Yeah.
after I watch the movie and after I get some more
Oh,
information. We can do
yeah.
a small part two, and we definitely appreciate you getting on here. It was a pleasure seeing you at the R&B Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Event.
Yes. Thank you so much
All
for
right.
that. I appreciate it. I hope you guys get to see the movie. Um, if you have any problems or something come up, you can't get it because everybody don't have Lifetime. Just let me know, and then I'll probably try to get the link for you.
Okay. You do.
Okay, I can send it to you, Kermit, in an email, and
Okay. Sounds
you
great.
can share it. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So I don't see any more hands up. So thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
I
Uh,
appreciate you. Thank you, and thank you guys for everything. And please reach out to me.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
on Facebook,
Myself and Queen
Instagram.
Karen will reach out to you to see what else we could possibly do to assist you in
Oh,
what you're doing and all this.
that would be amazing.
I,
I would
I,
love it.
I'll be coming home for the R&B award, so I look forward to.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
I was home in October. I don't know.
okay.
And you were over at the Marriott? Were you? I heard Kermit.
No,
No, they have the event this past Friday at the Auto Museum.
Oh,
not a
oh yeah,
move.
yeah, down there because yeah, Lamont had his stuff down there. Okay,
Yeah.
I will be coming home for the award, so I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I can't wait to see all you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, me, Calhoun, and Kern will be together.
Okay, okay. You know Dennis Cash?
Absolutely,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
know.
Yeah, absolutely. And all,
Yeah,
all, all the other, I mean, from Cash to the OJs to,
yeah,
I
yeah,
went to
yeah.
Kennedy, I went to Kennedy and Arsenio went there,
Oh Lord,
and right,
yes, I see the
and
video.
uh, uh,
Ah,
Cleveland Church of God in Christ. I used to
oh,
belong to 105th, Gospel Pearls, all that with Steve Harvey and all of
oh,
us in the choir together. So,
oh
yeah.
my God.
What high school did you go to? You said East High?
East High Blue
All
Bombers.
right, all right. I'm fighting eagle. Kennedy.
That's all right. I got a few cousins that went to Kennedy, so it's okay. Love Kennedy.
Did
Love
you
it.
ever meet Judge Keenan?
I have too. Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she was my English teacher
Oh,
before she became a lawyer and a judge. Yeah, absolutely.
really?
And
I didn't
and
know that.
Councilman Patton was he was in my class.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah. She was an English teacher before she became a lawyer and then a judge.
That is
And
crazy.
do you know Dr. Whitaker?
Oh,
Uh,
man, Dr.
he, he
Whitaker.
was my math teacher.
Oh
He's a chief
Lord,
and God
stop
now, but he was
it.
my math teacher. I talked to him just a few days ago.
Let me tell you about Dr. Whitaker real quick. I know Kermit going, uh-oh. Got to get off
No,
of here.
John actually woke up some stuff because there's a name in your bio that I have the utmost of respect for, and that's Stephanie Tubbs Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I met her when I was
yeah,
going to Case Western Reserve. She was the whatever they call it, the house mother, whatever at Sherman Commons over at Case Western Reserve at the time, and she
yeah.
actually encouraged me that year. She was like head of the Afro Am Society or whatever. Also,
Okay.
and she encouraged a lot of the kids to run for office. Student council,
Oh,
student
wow. Yeah.
so I actually ran for. I was a freshman. I ran for vice president as a freshman. I almost won, but the
Okay.
sophomores did win every single office. President, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. So we got together as a group. Just like people do, like Al Sharpton, trying to do now. We got together as a group and got people running from freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. And the sophomores actually won the whole thing. So so it's very important to get involved with stuff. People don't realize, and not only that, I'm where I am today from volunteering. I volunteered
Uh,
for the Upward Bound program
oh
when I
yeah,
was at Case,
yeah.
and that I was too young. That I was going from freshman to sophomore. You had to be from sophomore to junior to get a job. So I
Oh,
volunteered because they had just given him a building there that a building need to be rehabbed. We like so I just helped him paint the building, lay it on the floor, drywall, all of that. He worked me so hard as a volunteer. I guess he felt bad. So one of the professors didn't show up that summer, so they hired me to run the rec room over at Case Western Reserve and paid me the same thing they paid the teachers. So that was like my first big break in that area. So they
wow.
just show you how everything is about networking. And
Networking,
if
networking.
you grew up in Cleveland, you may remember WABQ.
Oh yeah. Are
Okay,
you kidding?
Jim Scorpio Stevens from WABQ is who got me in the music business. I was a
Man,
backup DJ for him. He was a real popular DJ doing
yeah,
events, and
yeah.
he had like three or four guys. Like he might book three or four events the same day, and this was a horrible situation. He had booked a wedding that he had me do, and this was back, of course, before social media and all that. And the bride come over to me and say, "Hey Jimmy, how you doing? Thanks for being here." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "I'm Jimmy Stevens."
Ooh,
Well, Laura,
amazing.
Laura, how do you know? How do you know Dr. Whitaker?
Oh man, the story on that one. Um, my mentor here is Yvonne Pointer, and she was building a school in Africa, naming it after her daughter who was murdered, Gloria Pointer. And so Dr. Whitaker was there in Ghana already. He was the one and the chief that helped her to build the school. So we went there. We stayed about a week and a half. We went there for the grand opening, the opening of the school. And I even went to Dr. Whitaker's house. He invited us all over there for dinner. Oh man, you been to Ghana?
No, I'm on my way though. I'm
Oh,
definitely on my way. I again, he and I
uh,
are talking almost weekly or
uh-huh.
daily. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was
You,
my but Miss Judge Keenan and was, this year marks the 60th anniversary and opening of John F. Kennedy, and
okay.
Judge Keenan, who was the English teacher, and Dr. Willie, who was my math teacher, they were there at the very beginning. So that's how, yeah, they both know me since I was 15 years old.
Man, the world is small. I don't care what nobody say. It is small.
And
Everybody knows
actually,
everybody.
and Dr. Whitaker is a very important figure in my life too, because
Uh,
the short
right.
story of that, which I always tell, is that I was in the 11th grade and I was in a talent show, and I had my group since 12. I'm
Yeah.
slide second wiggin now. That's a whole different thing. But anyway, this teacher had told me that I had no talent,
Uh,
right? And I was on my way to Dr. Whitaker's class, and he didn't know anything about it. And I'm all heartbroken because I
geez.
thought, she told me I should get a job in the steel mill and all that kind of stuff. And Dr. Whitaker, he said, Wilson, let me see you after class. And I said, wow, what did I do now? Right.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, he sat back and basically he told me, he said he came to the talent show, and he said, told me to keep on doing what I'm doing. You have talent.
Wow.
The rest is history.
Look at that.
Yeah. He's a
One
great,
person can tear you down. Look at that though. But
yeah.
he built you back up, your confidence. That's all you needed too.
Right. And God was watching out for you
I
too.
was watching out for you for real. I
Yeah.
see you. And that happened to Malcolm X, if you remember. He,
Yes.
teacher talking about what did Malcolm say he wanted to be a lawyer or something like that? And his teacher said, "Oh no, that's not for you. You're good with your hands, or be a carpenter or something." Just kind of downplay everything. That's terrible because you respect your teachers, and that stuff stays with you.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
all but 17 years old, and
Wow.
but again, and just that happened 5 minutes. She tore me down, and him knowing nothing about it, 5 minutes
Yeah.
put me back on the
It
path.
builds you back. Thank you, God,
And
for that. Isn't that something?
I'm gonna tell him when I talk to him. I'll probably talk to him in the next day or two that that I spoke to you.
Oh, please do. And they named a village. They gave me a village, the village of Odam. So I'm the
Oh, let me
queen.
write let me
I'm the
write it
queen
down.
mother.
Okay, I'm gonna write that. Odom, how you spell that?
Odom.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure when I go, I'm gonna visit there too.
Yeah, let him know. He'll take you there. The
Okay.
village of Odom. Oh boy, I
Oh,
tell you,
that's
when you go, I don't know what's going to happen, John, because you might not want to come back.
well,
The
he's trying.
motherland.
Well,
Ooh,
he's trying to get, he's building a series of condos there now. And yeah. You hit him up and they look right now really nice. It's right near, the ocean in there. And actually, he built that university there. I put a brick there. And he
uh-huh,
built the community center there in
uh-huh.
Opera. Yeah, he's doing great work and still teaching
Oh
math.
yeah, yes
Yeah.
he is. That's amazing. You got the right one.
Yeah, it's a small world,
It's a
small world.
small world, but I'm gonna tell
Right.
you one thing. It's gonna make you a little sad when you go. If he takes you to the Elmina Castle. And
Yeah.
I saw that door, no return, where
Yeah.
our ancestors went through there on that plank to get onto the ship,
Yeah.
and that was it. They
Yeah.
were taken and kidnapped from their home. That was terrible.
Right. Yeah. He does the tours there, and yeah, I look forward to
Yeah,
going. Yeah.
yeah, because
Mhm.
it's something you got to experience.
Yeah.
You'll actually hear your ancestors. Seriously,
Well,
it's just that wind blowing through those tunnels, and it sounds like someone's calling you and talking to you. It's something else what we went through, and to be brought all the way over here. Oh, Lord have mercy.
I went. I haven't been to Ghana, but I've been to Gaborone, Botswana, Lusaka, Zambia,
Oh
State of Lesotho,
yeah,
and Johannesburg. And
Johannesburg. Yeah.
I was in Johannesburg. That was
Wow.
coming back. I was down there doing some work, but
Yeah. Yeah.
look forward to going back.
Con-
Soon.
yeah. Condos. I'm thinking that I still got my passport.
Yeah, but yeah, hit him up and quite, because they look nice. They like I say a quarter through. He's got the foundation down and they're beautiful. Absolutely going to be beautiful. Yeah. He said he'll be back in about I think in about another couple of weeks. He'll be because you've been to his charter school down on Prospect, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
he'll be back in about 2 or 3 weeks. So
Lord have mercy.
a small world. And
Is it
Judge
slow?
Keenan too. And Judge Keenan too, absolutely.
Gosh, this is awesome. Hey, I'll go back home. I sure would. I
Yeah.
would.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you.
Yep.
That's
I got
good.
another surprise for everybody. If you go to the link tree, I know I sent most of you guys the direct YouTube, I'm gonna say the direct Zoom link. If you go to the link tree, you'll see that the Tuesday is missing. This is actually my last scheduled Tuesday meeting. I'm not saying I won't ever have any again, but this is the last one I have scheduled. I've been trying to retire for several years, but I've been doing this now since 2011. This is the 14th year, so
Wow.
I don't think I have anything else to prove.
Oh, wow.
And
Uh,
this and you might actually be my last interview.
The
well, let me
last interview.
and Lawrence,
Oh,
excuse me,
oh,
let me tell him something. Little Richard and I were very good friends.
yeah.
And maybe about a year before he passed, he said, I may retire. I said, I'm thinking about retiring. And he said, retire to what? Okay. I said, Richard, when are you gonna retire? Right? Retire to what?
Let me tell you what. Right.
So Kermit, retire to what?
Yeah. Yeah. He think he going
Retired
somewhere.
to me not dealing with you
Yeah.
and just playing playing with my German Shepherd.
Yeah, all right.
Uh,
That'll last long.
uh,
That'll last about 20 minutes, right?
right. Exactly. He'll be right back at it again. Come
Right,
on
right.
now. He's a
Yeah.
workaholic. He's a worker bee.
Maybe I
Yeah.
just be more active on Mixaholic Monday or something. We still got that. I
He
just
still got
but,
that.
but if you go to the link tree, you'll see I took off Tuesday. I removed it
Oh
from the link tree.
wow.
But I'm gonna come back
Wow.
and do a part two with you though.
You
Or at
doggone
least be
right
one thing
too.
I do. So maybe once I kick off that part two, it'll just encourage me to go further. There's a lady named Judy Jones that at the time was living in Upper Kentucky near Cincinnati, and I was promoting music. And I had retired in 2003. I just felt like I was on top of the world. I just broke that Kanye record, My Neck, My Back, and and you can hear it now on lotion commercials. I just thought I was the man. I actually was the distributor for the record, the retail marketing, the street team, and
Wow.
networking with the radio and video people, and I did it with 2 broken ribs. So I felt really good about myself. And then
Oh, Lord.
this rich attorney hired me to come to Tampa in 2004 to help promote his daughter's group, and so I was in Tampa for a while, and it just But anyway, so when I was in Tampa, so she asked me would I do a record. I said, Judy, I'm retired. And so she found out where I stayed. She mailed me a money order. She said, if you want to help me, cash the money order. If you don't want to help me, send it back. I cashed
Oh,
the money
wow.
order, and here I am, 22 years after 2000 and well 2004. Here it is 21 years later, and I'm still doing stuff.
Still doing
When I
stuff.
wanted to retire in 2003, when I was like I think I was 49. I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because God's telling you, you still got more work to do.
What I
More.
want to do though is I just want to, eat healthy, stay healthy, go for a walk, walk the dog, do this. Just don't worry about having to, to, this was like a job to me. I mean, I had a rough day today,
Oh,
and
wow.
then come on here, and then when I talk to you, you were tired, you have to go to work tomorrow. So it's like, still kind of like a job. You love
Yeah,
doing it. You don't mind, getting the word out and helping people, and I'm
yeah,
helping you
but it's a
promote some
job.
stuff too. That's one thing I'll be in contact with you about to help you promote some stuff. That's my specialty is marketing promotion. So I'm gonna
Okay.
help you do that. I'll get with you about that. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
thanks again for
awesome.
coming. And I know John go ahead with your last words, John, because I know you're going to end it.
Yeah, how you
No,
going to do?
like I said, you gonna retire to what? Laura, it was really a pleasure, really.
Oh, thank you,
I
Jonathan.
look forward to seeing when I come home.
Me too. Me too. And you might know, my cousin, Silver B. Silver used, yeah, Lord have mercy. I buried Silver B. Oh man, that hurt me. 'Cause that was my heart right there.
Silver B and I were very, very, very close.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh
that,
wow.
yeah,
Good
he
grief.
helped me with a lot of things, and I helped him
Oh
uh,
my
when
goodness. Precious.
a lot. I miss him
Oh, me
very,
too. Me
very.
too. In the
Uh,
mix, 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 mix,
in the
mix.
mix, like
Yeah,
even on his answer service. And when we were downtown there doing the Sax Man movie,
Oh
he,
yeah.
again, I'm Sly, Slick and Wicked. When I came out on stage, there he was, right there in the front, so I could see him, and
Yeah.
um, because Maurice, that's also, Maurice played. I'm the one that brought him into the business. He was on the
Oh
road.
wow.
Yeah, he was
Get
on.
out.
Yeah, Maurice
Jesus.
was 18. Him and Johnny Britt when they started playing behind us. And Sly Slick and Wicked, we've been together. In fact, next month on March 17th, we'll be together 55 years, and we're still touring.
55 years.
Yeah, we're
That's a
still touring,
long
brother.
time.
Yeah, still working.
That's still working. You know Johnny O?
Yes,
John Horton. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
we
like I
got the
said,
same circle. Yeah.
absolutely. I know we done ran into each other sometime with shape or form way back in the day. The
Right, right,
Spy
right.
House and
speaking of
Chevy
Silver
Chase.
B, speaking of Silver
Huh?
B, Silver B used to live a half a block from my store, Dodge Recreations on Euclid Avenue back in the day.
Well,
Uh-huh.
so what I didn't understand about Silver Being, he never told us the secret. I would try to sneak home,
Uh-huh.
right? When my parents were alive. And one day I came home, I got home by about 7 o'clock in the evening. I got my car rented, and by the time I got home, it was about 9 o'clock. I walked in the house, hug and kiss my mother. Next thing on the door, my mother said, who is that? I said, I don't know. There's Silver B. I said, man, how did you know I got here? He says, me in the mix. He said, let's go and get something to eat. You know how Silver was. I don't know how he would find out I was coming home. You
I'll
know,
never forget the time that we rode to. He rode down to Akron from Cleveland because we put on a show in Akron with the Boogie Boys and the
Oh,
Skinny
wow.
Boys,
Yeah.
and Silver B was one of the MCs that night. Yeah,
Mm.
back and that was like 1987 ish, I think, not
Oh my
1987.
gosh.
Yeah.
right.
Silver, Silver was something. He loved those Glenville festivals. He would run it all the time, you know.
He was the community. He was
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Yeah, he was
He cared
Cleveland.
about it. In fact, I introduced him to Joe Jackson. Joe and I came home. This was probably around 1986, 87. And that's when he was working at the Urban League.
Yes,
And,
yes,
I took,
yes,
I think Kermit, you was with us, wasn't he, that day? And took Joe up to the Urban League and introduced him to Silver B. And
yeah.
yeah, he was
I
there.
think I got a picture because with Joe Jackson and Silver.
But
Yeah,
if you did,
yeah.
then I wasn't far away. I was probably on the other side of the room somewhere.
I was actually sick one of those times that Joe came there, but I remember we was at a club on a restaurant in the club on Coventry when they were showing the Michael Jackson special, and I still think I got a clip somewhere on my phone of Joe watching the special. We're sitting at the bar,
Oh, wow.
watching the special about Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Because I made a big thing about Joe coming to town 1 year after Michael's death, and I said that he could have been anywhere in the world,
And
but he
he
was in
went
Cleveland, Ohio, instead of being
back.
in California or whatever, or Vegas. I made a
Wow.
big deal about it. Everything is about, everything in the industry is about time. And,
Timing. Oh,
that's why I
boy.
love John.
Right.
That's why I love John so much. I learned so much from being around Joe, just hearing it, even like details about the movie, like what was correct, what was incorrect, and all of that, and just a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
But thanks
Joe,
again. We all gonna get out of here.
Oh, wait.
I'm,
John was
I'm,
saying something.
I'm
Hold
gonna
on a
kick
minute.
John out so he can't say nothing else.
yeah,
So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, guys, keep in touch, please.
Thanks
Thank
everybody.
you.
Don't forget, we probably have Throwdown Thursday this Thursday at 8 o'clock, and every single Monday. Mixaholic Mondays at 9 o'clock. If nothing else, you got the top 9 at 9 from 9 to 9:20 or 9:30. And this may be your last Tuesday. Thanks everybody, and have a great night.
Oh, thank you. And you too. Take care, guys.